The Panopticon. The Panopticon was part of Michel Foucault's book Discipline and Punish: The Birth of the Prison, under the chapter Discipline. The Panopticon was a prison-like institution designed by social theorist Jeremy Bentham. The Panopticon ensured ultimate power, as a prisoner can always be seen and never knows from which angle he is being watched. They also cannot communicate with the guards or other prisoners. Jeremy Bentham's inspiration for the Panopticon could have come from Louvois' menagerie at Versailles, the first menagerie in which the different elements are not, as they traditionally were, distributed in a park. The Panopticon ensured ultimate control over the body, as you cannot communicate but you can always be seen and watched. As Foucault explains, visibility is a trap. This kind of control took place when a plague first came into a town. Inspections functioned ceaselessly, the guards are everywhere. The villagers are always being watched by the guards and officers, all of their actions are observed. All villagers must be surveilled at all times. Foucault explains that if the villager tries to leave the street, he will be condemned to death. The plague gave rise to disciplinary projects. Rather than the massive binary division between one set of people and another, it called for multiple separations, individualising distributions and organisation in depth of surveillance and control, and intensification and a ramification of power. The plague-stricken town and the panoptic establishment are different. They mark, at a distance of a century and a half, the transformations of the disciplinary programme. In the plague-stricken town, the person must present themselves, as they cannot be monitored all the time. However, in the panoptic establishment, they can. This change brought about a disciplinary society and also brought forward a number of processes. The functional inversions of the disciplines. The disciplines play a positive role to increase the possible utility of individuals. Military discipline now allows the military to exist as a unity that derives from this very unity and increases in its forces. The disciplines function increasingly as techniques for making useful individuals. The swarming of disciplinary mechanisms. In an example of school children, the Christian school must not simply train docile children, it must also make it possible to supervise the parents to gain information as to their way of life, their resources and their morals. Foucault explains that one must learn by skillful questioning in what way they behave at home. This way they have further knowledge in order to prove how they can and should behave. And finally, the state. Control of the mechanisms of discipline. In England, it was private religious groups who carried out for a long time the functions of social discipline. The discipline had to be from a far greater power, and in order to be exercised, this power had to be given the instrument of permanent, exhaustive, omnipresent surveillance, capable of making all visible as long as it could remain itself invisible. It had to be like a faceless gaze that transformed the whole social body into a field of perception. Police power must bear over everything, and the police were now the ones who carried out the social discipline. However, discipline had to solve a number of problems which the old economy of power could not solve. Power had to be at the lowest possible cost, bringing the effects of social power to their maximum intensity and to extend them as far as possible, and lastly to link this economic growth of power with the output of the apparatuses. The development of the capitalist economy led to a situation where these techniques could be operated in diverse regimes. The panoptic modality of power is also not independent. The Enlightenment, which discovered the liberties, also invented the disciplines. Society has now moved away from harming the body to now observing the body. The practice of placing individuals under observation is a natural extension of a justice imbued with disciplinary methods and examination procedures. Foucault states that the ideal point of penalty today would be an indefinite discipline, an interrogation without end, an investigation that would be extended without limit to a meticulous and ever more analytical observation that calculated the leniency of a penalty that would be interlaced with the ruthless curiosity of an examination.
Created using Powtoon.